Warriors Plus Minus is back. This is Marcus Thompson. I'm with Tim Kawakami, the best columnist in California, in the nation, in the history of columnism.
I think that's been proven. That's been voted actually incorrect, specifically in the state of California. So.
Wow, that's
Which is fine. That's fine. I ain't killing California sports right here. Let's make sure that we're clear on that one.
Wow, that was so loaded. So we're back for Warriors Plus Minus. I think this is going to be the last episode because clearly the Warriors are done.
That's it, over.
This podcast is no longer necessary.
Well,
they were destroyed in Utah. It's over, right?
Warriors minus now, just Warriors minus, because all they do is lose. They can't beat teams that are dressed like orange, whatever the hell they were dressed like. It just screws them up.
I thought that was the German national team.
Is that what they look like? I didn't know what that was. I thought it might be a summer league game. Maybe the Warriors thought it was a summer league game, and that's how they kind of played.
So, TK, you said it was minuses, but there really was a couple of pluses, and one of them was JaVale McGee, who apparently is an all-star, and you guys just got to figure it out. You think Steve Kerr is like, come on, JaVale? Don't go 7 for 7 when I put you back in. You're going to start everybody thinking you should play again.
I think it's the opposite. I think Kerr loves this in some Kerr way because he's been dying by sitting JaVale. He didn't want to do it. Other coaches would have sat JaVale, I think, way before Kerr did. And to put him out there and him to do what he did, didn't really matter. But, first half minutes mattered. And to play well is Kerr like, hey, that's professionalism. Look, Kevon Looney, look at this. Jordan Bell, you're in this position. Look at this. He doesn't play. He practices hard. I throw him out there, and look what he does. Now, there's been other games when JaVale's given him nothing, but after all the time
you got to bring up that.
Yeah, I know. I'm really mean about stuff like that. I think Kerr likes it. I don't know if he's going to play him much more. If Looney's ready to go, I think Looney's still his guy for that end of first quarter, end of third quarter minutes, but hey, JaVale, he might throw JaVale out there again against Big City. Remember, JaVale played really well in the playoffs last year in Utah, right? Didn't he? He had like 10 minutes against Gobert. So maybe it's just a Utah thing. Maybe he likes those orange uniforms.
He's the Rudy Gobert stopper.
That's what he is. That's what he is.
That's Rudy Gobert. This is almost like optimum JaVale McGee time because, like, we're ready to hit. You're in the All-Star break, right? You could tell by the stars last night. They're about ready for All-Star break. And energy is a problem, and that's what JaVale does. He's energy.
Yep.
You got Sac coming up. You got Denver. You probably won't need energy for Oklahoma City, but these are the times where you're trudging along, and in comes the dude who's like got a point to prove. He doesn't get to play very often, and he's dunking and hitting baseline jumpers and taking ill-advised three-pointers. Like, now's the time for JaVale, it feels like. And then you save it. Now when you come back, you got Looney, you got Jordan Bell, and he's probably going back to where he was.
Yeah, or that was a really great little showcase there. For somebody doesn't think he can play, look, JaVale can play now. I don't think they're going to be able to trade him, but if anybody thought he couldn't play, I did see, I don't know if it was a scout, it was some executive really looking at him closely the last home game as he's doing that early pregame shooting little drills. So I think he's being looked at. I don't think anybody's going to give up anything of value for him. But if you kind of have a backup center slot and you kind of want someone who can get up and down the floor, somebody might take him. And a game like this shows that he can still do it. Some of the stuff that he was doing last season, that he wasn't doing much this season, he can still do it here and there. Maybe if you're playing Utah, whoever's going to get that Utah playoff first round. Actually, that might be the Warriors, by the way. It might be the 1-8. JaVale can still do some stuff. I don't know that it's going to happen a lot longer.
Utah, they need to keep him.
Yep.
In Utah, they can't trade him. They need to go Bear stopper.
Well, if they play Utah, they're going to get swept in 4 games anyway, obviously. So, I don't know what you're going to do. Unless you get LeBron, I don't think they can beat Utah, judging.
They got to wear those uniforms every game. They got to wear those uniforms. They got to petition the league to wear the alternate uniform. That's now. The other plus was Clay.
Yep.
Clay hadn't shown up for a couple of games, but he was the only of the stars who seemed to be locked in. And he made his shots. He got different looks. He didn't just settle. He wasn't that great from 3, but he was a go-to scorer in that. You take anything from that, or is it just like one game?
Yeah, it's random Clay. That's what I think. I mean, it's going to be there some games.
So random.
Yeah, it's not going to be there other games. Sometimes it's with Steph going crazy. Sometimes it's without Steph going crazy. I guess we haven't really seen it when Steph and Durant have been bad, and they were bad last night. Clay gets so much of his open space because of those two guys, and if the defense aren't going crazy guarding those guys, sometimes Clay can disappear. And he just fought through stuff, right? He found his space. He was searching for his space. So that was something to take from it. But other than that, Clay's random. He hits a couple, and then he just gets red hot for the next 5 shots. And if he misses a couple, he might be super cold for the next 5 shots. I don't take a lot out of what we learned from that game to kind of move forward with Clay. I don't. I think it's just one of those. It's a clunker one way for most of those guys. It was a good game for Clay and JaVale, and it just all of those it's not really going to matter for the next game.
It doesn't matter when Joe Ingles and Ricky Rubio destroyed Stephen Durant.
Yep.
It's like they got completely outplayed by. And, did you listen to the broadcast on TV? Because Fitz was going off.
I might have. I might have. I might have.
Never make shots.
Oh, no. The insanity of this all. Oh, no. Crazy.
He's making shots.
Yep. I especially like that he's shooting this one left-handed.
Oh, that's right. You did blast that, huh?
He is left-handed, actually.
That was so funny. But Rubio clearly has a vendetta on Steph because he always plays well against Steph, which, you understand why, but, Minnesota took Rubio instead of Steph and changed the course of basketball history.
No, really, Johnny Flynn's the one who should have something
Johnny Flynn was the real one, right? Yeah, yes. Johnny Flynn. Rubio will always be late. Minnesota fans were always looking like we could have had Steph and then we got Rubio.
Yep.
So I'm sure that gets to him, and clearly it's not over. Even though he's in Utah now, because he looks great. I mean, look, the Utah can't beat the Warriors in the series. I just don't think that's a team they want to face.
Yep.
And especially now that New Orleans, maybe if they drop back to 8 without DeMarcus Cousins, that might be a more favorable matchup. But the way Utah executes and the way they play, and let me tell you, they got some athletes on the wing.
That's it. Yep.
It exposes the Warriors' lack of athleticism. Donovan Mitchell is a bouncer. He's quick. Even Alec Burke, who's not young anymore, but he's got some athleticism. They've got some horses. I don't think they want to see that team in the playoffs.
Length. What hurts the Warriors in playoffs? Length. And they've got length. They got Favors. They obviously Gobert's the lengthiest guy in the league. They've got some guys who could stick their arms out. That's the thing. I guess if I would take one thing that should scare the Warriors from this one, other than just getting blown off the court, is that they got blown off the court without Donovan Mitchell doing hardly anything. And he can do stuff, and he's the kind of guy who can go off on the Warriors. That kind of explosive, inside-outside threat, and he didn't really do it. It was Joe Ingles, Ricky Rubio, and Rudy Gobert. So that part, I think the Warriors might go, okay, wouldn't be real fun in a playoff series. And Curry, Draymond, and Durant are going to be more focused next time they play it. Forget about it in a playoff series. But there's stuff there that they don't like. Screens set that they didn't like. Stuff that they do to other teams, right, on a much quicker basis. But all those back screens, Durant did not like that. He just did not like dealing with that stuff. And they're going to run into it. And Rubio can screen. It's that old tricky guard screen, down screen. You're not looking for it. Boom. Then somebody pops open. They got to fight through it.
And then there's another screen. Right? After you get to that first screen, they'll pop up with another one, just like the Warriors do.
Yep.
It's just irritating, right? It's that's how Quinn Snyder plays it. And they don't. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is going to be great, but they don't have that singular talent who typically says, I got the team on my back. So they really play together.
Yep.
And those teams give the Warriors a problem, just like Boston, where there's a constant movement, everybody knows where they should be, and you don't just get to make those rote passes against them. Because they're overplanned and they're kind of on a string. So they were catching the ball 35 feet from the basket, just running in their regular little motion. Teams like that, they're just irritating for the Warriors. And then the shots aren't falling. They just totally mentally checked out of that game, right?
Yep.
And you throw in the crowd, which, Utah still is up there as far as loud and how raucous it is. So I know there's some history there. I bet you they look at that team like, we don't want to go here. And then there's no nightlife. Remember, Remember the whole
No,
night?
Ron Adams was going nuts at Walters, is what I heard. He's just going crazy Monday night. You know Adams. He's a nut.
That's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who do they want to face? Who is a good? Who's the ideal?
You know what it
matchup?
is. You know what it is. It's the one they faced before. Portland Trailblazers.
Portland.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
There's others, New Orleans, whatever. But I'm not even sure now. Everything's getting reshuffled by these injuries and by the Clippers trading Blake. Any one of those teams, fine for them. I think Utah would be the one kind of sitting around there that they wouldn't like. I would have said Oklahoma City before.
Another.
Denver, yeah. Oklahoma City would have been one, but now they've kind of moved out of that. Then Oklahoma City's kind of enough 4, 5, 6 now. So Utah, I think, would be just you got the elevation, you got that arena, but I don't think they're anybody that Warriors would fear. It's just if they had to pick them, that wouldn't be. Portland would always be their first pick. Portland just is one of those teams that they're never going to be worried about, and really shouldn't. They might lose a game if Steph gets hurt, but even if Steph gets hurt, they're still going to win that series, and Steph probably won't get hurt.
Easy Portland. Plus, it's not far, right?
Yep.
Mike could throw the Clippers in there too now.
Yep.
Like it's right down the road. It's not like the year they won when it was New Orleans, Memphis, Houston. They just kept having to make these far trips. Portland's right there. They love that.
Time zone, same time zone.
Same time zone.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very much.
Nope. And they like it, and I like it too when we're traveling. So I don't mind that trip either.
Portland's not a bad city. Are we going to see a lot of activity during the trade deadline here? Do you think it's going to be busy?
There's been stuff already, so I don't know. Maybe it's already been. Blake Griffin gets traded. That's a pretty big deal, no matter what. I think Cleveland's going to do something. I think, but is there a big name that's going to move? That I'm not sure.
DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan could. There could be a few others, but I don't know that there's. The Blake was the one, and we didn't even know Blake was going to go. But that seems to be like the biggest one. They're, again, Cleveland's going to go try to get it. A couple other guys like they always do. Maybe Derek Williams, and I don't know that it's going to be a big deal, but they'll do stuff and there'll be money moved around.
We're going to take a quick break to talk about our friends over at SeatGeek. Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated and confusing, but there is a better way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. Whether you're searching for a last-minute deal, planning a night out, or need to find the perfect gift, SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. There's nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or musician in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. We here at Warriors Plus Minus have the SeatGeek app on our phone, and we find it's the easiest way to find and shop for tickets. SeatGeek is designed to make your ticket buying experience easier than ever. SeatGeek saves you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals. And to get you the most bang for your buck, SeatGeek grades every ticket based on value to help you immediately identify the best seat to fit your budget. Plus, every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Make SeatGeek your go-to app for finding the best deals on every type of ticket, from sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Best of all, our listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code PLUS today. That's promo code PLUS, P-L-U-S, for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
But here's a question, Marcus, which I would have answered differently just like 2 days ago. Do you think the Warriors are going to do anything?
You know what? I think they do. How about this? I think they want to. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if a move will be there, but if there's something to be done, I do think there's some nervousness about what they're seeing from their bench and their young players. And I know you got to trust Andre Iguodala at this point, right? All you have is banking on the fact that when you've needed him before, he's come through. That's pretty much all you got left as far, from him offensively.
Yep.
Patrick McCaw looks like a completely different player. He looks unplayable sometimes.
Yep.
And Nick Young, he's unplayable and he's great, and you just don't know which one you're going to get. If he's making shots, they've got to get something in that perimeter. They just don't have places to go. Shaun Livingston, I mean, he was off, and he's been off more than he's normally off. I just think Bob Myers and his staff are looking at this like, all right, we have 4 All-Stars and we're good, but man, I'm uneasy about these reserves, and you just don't know what you're going to get. And that was always a staple of the Warriors bench. You knew what you were getting from Iguodala. You knew what you were getting from Livingston. You even knew what you were getting from Ian Clark.
Yep.
Right? So now they just don't know. You just literally don't know. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a veteran, one of those guys who just does one thing, and they do it well, and they can do it reliably. I wouldn't be surprised if they want a piece like that. I just don't know if that piece is there, and I just don't know if the Warriors come calling, are people going to give the kind of favorable deal that Bob Myers usually likes, right? It's like, give him a call for, some dude at the end of the bench who might be cool, but I'm not about to give you a call for him, right?
Yeah.
I think they'll get a lot of those type of offers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Hey, the irresponsible columnist from The Athletic wrote possibly trade McCaw. I think that's the only thing they got that they can move. They could move their first-round pick, but they haven't had one for a while. I think they want to keep it this year. And so
you're not moving it for, hey, I need a 12th guy to rely on. You're not moving it for that.
No. Now, you start talking about the Lou Williams, and I'm just throwing that name out. I do not think they have enough to get Lou Williams. But I'm saying if you're talking about that level player. Is
Jerry West giving you Lou Williams?
No.
If you're all right, we got the stuff. Is Doc Rivers and Jerry West going to trade Lou Williams to the Warriors?
No. And they don't have enough to get him anyway. So I'm just saying it's got to be that level player for them to talk about the one. So if you don't talk about the one, what else do they have to give up? It's Patrick McCaw that somebody's going to want. That's it. I mean, someone will want Jordan Bell. Someone will want. God, I don't even know who else on that roster who's not on the big.
Maybe Looney.
Yeah.
Don't you have Looney's bird right?
You got. No, they only gave him the 1 year. I'm not even sure anymore. But I think they want. I mean, Looney's somebody they're going to want to play. So
yep.
If you just back through it, there's just one guy that they could possibly trade who has value, and that's Patrick McCaw. And I don't quite know what his value is anyway. He's coming up on free agency. The team that gets him could match with all this the Arenas rule, but I don't know that. Is he in their plans, Marcus? Is he someone that they're going to say, okay, yeah, that's our replacement for Andre Iguodala right there? That's what they've said before. I don't think they can say that.
I think he was in their plans. I don't think they can. If that is the plan, it ain't the most sure plan anymore, right? It's like, hold on, maybe we need that plan B just in case it doesn't work.
Yep.
And that's probably McCaw's value, because I mean the Athletic, when the season started, we were writing about how much it's going to cost. How can they keep him, right? Can they afford to keep him? How will this work? Well, the best case scenario is he's lowered his value. Somehow he returns back. It was a sophomore slump, and he returns back to being a player, and they got him for cheaper than what they would have got. Yep. And that's his most value to the Warriors.
Yep.
If somehow he can revert to last year, but at a price they don't have to pay that we thought they were going to pay. Otherwise, I mean, is it easier to go get a Tyreek Evans and say, that's my new Iguodala?
Yep.
Right? That's a guy I think they could do it for. I think they would make a move for about it. Again, does New Orleans say, yeah, we will help you destroy us in the first round?
At some point, I don't know. At some point they just got to go for value.
I hear with New Orleans. He's with Memphis now, right? They can do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They've given up already.
Yeah.
That's a player I think they could use. Lou Williams, obviously, it's going to take a player like that, where when he steps in, I can write this down for him. And they don't have that anymore, Tim. They just don't.
And other than West, Iguodala, and Livingston, and then see Draymond plays on that second unit, Clay does. Those guys are okay defensively, even if they're not shooting the ball. McCaw and Young with that group are horrendous defensively, and they take the whole. It's like McCaw used to be. Oh, he can play defense. You look at his defensive numbers this year; it's horrendous. And I hate to be mean. You know me; I'm always Mr. Optimistic. But the fact that he's kind of turning down challenges this season, he's kind of shying away after they've given him all these opportunities, after he played well in the playoffs, that scares me. I would just looking at him as a player, that he's turning down this moment to take a bigger role, and he's kind of shrinking, and he doesn't want to shoot. And you could just see it. He just is invisible on the court because he doesn't want that challenge. That would scare me about him long term, at what his long term value is. And if I know the Warriors, I would say their front office is probably a little scared about it too. Just what they're seeing in his eyes, what they're seeing in his body language. It should be. I understand the pressure to play alongside Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Durant, but it also should make the game easier for you.
The same pressure was there last year.
Exactly.
Though, right?
And he's making it look so hard. Ian Clark is not a more talented player than Patrick McCaw. Ian Clark did a lot of things for this team last season. They would love Ian Clark right now. Ian Clark would be playing, no question, right now. McCaw makes it look hard. Everything he does looks hard. That would, if I'm looking at his value long term in his second season, I would be very, very worried about that. And I think the Warriors, although, Myers, he loves those long, versatile players. He's going to love McCaw's potential forever. I just think this might be a throw your cards in on this guy moment. And I think he's a nice guy. I see him. I don't know about his value as a player anymore. And someone else might think more of it. And maybe with the pressure of not playing on the greatest team ever assembled, not playing with 2 Hall of Famers. Some guys love it. I don't know that Patrick McCaw's the guy for it.
And that's kind of exacerbated when they're looking at these other young dudes, taking them on, right?
Yep.
These other youngsters are coming at the Warriors like, let's go. I'm playing against the greatest players, and I want a piece of that.
Yep.
You're looking at Jaylen Brown, right?
Yep.
I know he's a first-round pick, a high pick, and Patrick McCaw is a second-round pick, but picks don't determine mindset, right, and confidence. So they're looking at these youngsters like Donovan Mitchell, like, all right, I'm taking you. Dennis Smith Jr., I'm going to try to dunk on you.
Yep.
And then you got Patrick McCaw, like, not wanting to shoot, and his defense has regressed. You don't even have to look at the numbers. Just watch him. Right?
Yep.
Just watch him. He's not making the defensive plays he used to make. And I don't know, like, if you're Bob Myers after not picking up the option on Kevon Looney, like saying, I'm not going to stick with this one, and realizing, maybe I should have stuck with him, right? Or maybe we're going to stick with him long term. Do you then do that again? Do you make the same decision on McCaw? I think they might end up having to stick with him just because what if he is the next Andre Iguodala?
Yeah.
And you send him off and he's not. Like, you better – that's why, like you said, there's got to be somebody, like, really good for that role that they could get in return, because if you give up on McCaw and then he comes to be good, like, that leaves you in the Looney situation.
Yep, I agree. And there's a chance he is. I just think this is how you determine whether you're a good talent evaluator or not. You're taking these weeks right now to decide this, because he's a restricted free agent. They're going to have to pay him at some point. And do you want, you want to be bidding against other teams for Patrick McCaw, paying him $7-8 million a year for 4 more years? And this is all in the evaluation. And if you can turn that into something that's cheaper or about the same and is going to be worth it more to you in the short term, I think you're going to bet that he's not going to be the next Andre Iguodala. I think he's going to be a lot less than that. And where that falls, I don't know. I was a guy who was praising him last season. I was saying he should play over Ian Clark. That flipped because Ian Clark just was solid. I was okay with them letting Ian Clark go because McCaw deserved the minutes. He added Nick Young too. But what we're watching to be practical. I think we're watching a player play himself off this team. That's what I think we're seeing.
It's hard to not see that. Like, this is what it looks like, right? Like, when you can't, when Steve Kerr is just not comfortable with you, like, that's not a good sign.
Yep.
Like, he's been comfortable with less players who were like, why are you putting them out there?
Oh, yes.
But he's still comfortable with them. And here's a guy who's supposed to be next, and he's not comfortable putting them in the game.
Yep.
Last night, I mean, like, everybody's terrible, and he has to call a timeout because McCaw, I don't know for sure, but it looked like from the play, McCaw just didn't know what to run.
Yep.
And it's like, that's a player who's so in his head, he don't even know what the play is.
Yep.
And he's so worried and he's so frazzled and he doesn't want to make a mistake. That's not a good sign. It's not. But also, like, usually one off season could fix it, right? Get like Or if he does one good play in the playoffs, it might trigger his confidence. It looks like a confidence thing, and that's one of those things, though. When you lose your confidence, you're done in the NBA. It don't matter where you were picked. You don't have confidence, you are done. And there's a guy in Warriors history we know who's gone now because of it. His name is Andre Iguodala.
Oh, well, that's a whole. That's a whole. Yeah.
Once you lose your confidence, you're done in the NBA, and I don't think he has it right now. That's got to be a concern. Like, I don't know how they're not freaking out about this, especially when he was supposed to replace Andre, who's not looking that great right now.
Yep.
Like, so now you got to find a replacement for Andre for next year and the year after that. Even if somehow Andre comes to this year, because he doesn't look like he's going to be there for 3 years.
Yep. Yeah, they got some issues. You know, they got a bunch of great players. As I wrote last night, they're top heavy, and they knew they were top heavy. That's okay. You want to be top heavy. You want the greatest players ever, but they were really counting on a couple other guys to step into major, for them, major roles, 8 minutes at a time, and we're not seeing that. And their guys that they can rely on are getting older and older and older. And we don't know how much you can rely on Iguodala and West and Livingston. But, man, they're going to rely on them. Oh, man, in the playoffs, that's it. Those are the guys that Steve Kerr is going to rely on. He's going to play other guys, but those are the guys he's going to rely on. Hey, we haven't talked about Caspi, who no longer shoots threes, Marcus. What the hell? When they signed him, it was this guy can shoot threes. He doesn't even attempt them anymore.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Like, I can see if he is missing them, like if he's shooting 12 for 3, all right, pump fake and get to the hole. He won't take them.
Yep.
Like, what is happening? I don't even understand. He passed up like 4 last night.
Yep.
Like, I don't even understand what is happening. But he did have Anthony Slater wrote about his back. Yep. Maybe there's something there. Like, he's had a bunch of little health things. Maybe he's just not physically healthy. I just don't understand why he won't shoot them.
Yeah, I think it's physical plus mental, where he's in a place where it's taking him longer to get the ball released. It really is. So he's scared that thing's going to get blocked every time. He's 6'9", and normally that shouldn't be a problem to get open threes. It's such a slow motion, hitchy three. It always has been, but I think it's even more slow motion now. And that the arc is like exaggerated even from before a couple years ago. So I just think he's having a mental block on getting that thing released. So he's just not shooting it anymore because he's
got the yips.
Yep, absolutely.
He's like Chuck Dalblock. He's 9 of 18 from 3. Tim, he's made half his 3.
Yep, and he won't shoot them.
What's the problem?
Yep.
And he just won't. It's clearly I can't get it off. Like you said, he does have a weird long shot, but for some reason he doesn't feel like he can get it off.
Yep.
And I don't even think he's looking for it anymore. He's catching the ball and immediately pump fake drive.
Yep.
Immediately fake and then drive. Like, he's not even looking for the shot. I don't even think it's been blocked yet.
Yep.
It's not like it's been blocked 3 times. Let me chill. He just in his head, he's like, it's not open, but it's open. And you're 6. It's one of the weird little things about this season. Like, that dude won't shoot. Nick Young will take a fadeaway with 2 guys on him going to his left, and this dude won't shoot an open 3 that they fed to him. And it's not like he's like the greatest driver in the world, right?
No.
It's not like he's like, all right, I'm getting to the rim.
Or finisher, by the way. No.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. It's weird.
Like, this is weird.
They got some weird things going on with their bench. I don't think there's any question about it. Now, they don't need much out of it and haven't needed much out of it. And we're having all this long discussion, and they're still the number 1 team in the league. And they're still
40-11.
Odds-on favorite to win the championship for the second straight year in 3 out of 4. But when you parse it down, you look at there's some weird things going on with that second unit, and that's why I am now gone to the opinion I think they're going to make a move. Just to do something.
I think they want to. There's no way. They're looking at this bench like, we're good.
Yep.
There's just no way.
Well, I know that the former executive board member who no longer is with the team would be screaming at them now.
Yeah.
Screaming at them to do something.
Which is why you can cross off any Clipper because Jerry West is like, nope. I told them. Yeah, he's not doing it. Speaking of which, do you think because of these issues we're talking about that they need to stagger Steph and Durant and put KD in the second unit? Because that second unit, like when it's rolling, it looks great, right? They play pretty good defense. They're definitely like one and done each trip down, so they've got to make that shot. But they could string together 4 to 5 possessions with no bucket easy.
Yep.
And now, if they're not stopping anybody, it's either like they're going on a 10-2 run or they're giving up one.
Yep.
Right? It's like it's never just, very rarely they hold even because they just don't have a consistent score because there's no, like, Durant and Steph are matched together. Do you think it's time, or do you think Steve will go back to staggering, put Durant with that second unit, taking the pressure or the reliance off of Nick Young, off of McCaw, and just go with Clay? No, I guess Draymond would come out.
Yeah,
right?
It'd be Draymond out. It'd be Draymond playing the first quarter. It would be Draymond playing the first quarter with stuff like Kevin's doing now. That's what it would be.
Is that the answer to the issues? Is it to swap KD and Draymond in that second unit?
It might be, and I think in the playoffs it would be a real live possibility. It kind of was last season anyway, right? Anytime there was a close game, Ian got like 20 seconds with that unit, and then he was out, and Durant was back in. I don't think Kerr wants to do that, though. You know, he just thinks Steph and Durant took a while to get used to each other, and this is the concoction that it's working. They play together almost all the time. They're playing, I think, every second together these days. Like he's not even doing that sub Durant out at the end of the first quarter, getting him some extra and bring him back a little earlier. He's subbing Steph and Durant back in the second and fourth quarters at the exact same time. He likes them playing together. But, yeah, I think if the second unit clogs up like this over and over again, and it's relying too much on Livingston, which he doesn't want to do anyway. It's relying too much on David West go get a shot, which he doesn't want them to have to rely on. I do think Durant, the more likely compromise is he's going to just pull Durant a little earlier in the first quarter, maybe with a minute and a half left instead of playing him out, and that allows him to get him back in with like a minute and a half
8
lapse.
minutes,
So he doesn't start the quarter with him. He doesn't, rest him till the 6.5 mark. He gets him in at the 8.5 mark. I think that's his compromise, and I think we're going to see that, and we have seen it at times too.
And it would be different if the starters or that Durant Steph tandem, if they're going to the bench with a 15, 20-point lead, but they haven't been, which is really why we have the issue in the first place. Is because now these minutes by the second unit, most of the times they're trying to shave a lead, right? They're trying to shave off a deficit because the Warriors' first quarter they gave up 40 points, and we haven't seen that Steph Durant tandem come out and dominate. And now whatever happens in the second unit is not that important. Just don't blow a 12-point lead, right? They're playing from behind and they're saving it for the third quarter. And even then, they're not blowing teams out like they once did. So I wonder if the perk of playing them together is even worth it anymore. Maybe in the playoffs they lock you in from the beginning, but so far they aren't blowing teams out of the water like you need to when that's your second unit. So you might as well split them up anyway.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see more of it. And, the other point we're talking is Iguodala is a 0 on offense. And Steve always doesn't like it when I bring it up, but he can't be a 0. We know he does a lot of other things. Clearly, he's very valuable still, but to have a guy out there playing small forward who will not shoot the ball is a very, very difficult thing for a movement offense. When you've also got other players who aren't scoring a lot, it's tough. And so much of that is built on Iguodala being able to run that offense, and then if he's left wide open, which he is, make the shot. And, man, if he can't, then they do need Durant on that. That's what I'll say. It's really tied to Andre. If Andre can't shoot the ball or won't shoot the ball, they do need Durant playing more minutes because they just can't go with Andre, Draymond, Livingston, West. It's not enough offense against a good team or even a so-so team on the road like we saw last night.
Yeah, all you do is just bring your attention to Clay, and there are the other ones to beat you. We've got some questions, apparently.
Yes. Ben Cruz, I think Ben Cruz is already. He's got on a microphone and everything, feeling strong.
Yeah.
He's telling us to cut off, stop talking, and let him talk. He has solicited questions from our readership.
Go ahead.
Yeah, guys. So I sifted through all the millions of questions that were submitted.
Yeah. Millions.
Most of them.
Millions. Wow.
Yeah, most of them were actually just people asking TK to unblock them and Marcus to sign the book. So I picked the top 3 for you guys to look at today. So first, we're gonna go to Lath ZQ on Twitter asks, what do you think about the prospect of the Warriors getting Anthony Davis? Is it really possible to work that out salary cap wise?
Man, some columnist made all that up. I can't believe. See, this is what's wrong with journalism. Columnists just make stuff up, and then we got to talk about it months later.
I know.
Tim, who was the dude who wrote that mess?
It's some idiot who then asked people to pay for a subscription in order to read it. And
who wants to pay for that?
Crazy stuff. No, that's the guy everybody wants. It's not stupid for teams to line up for him. The Warriors have that's their target. This is how they do it. But I don't think they can do it right now. And I don't know. I mean, they have far less ammunition than, say, like Boston does. And my understanding is Boston really, really, they're smart. They want Anthony Davis. If they wanted to do it right now, and New Orleans falls out of it because they don't have Cousins for the rest of the season, you just think of what Boston could give up. They could go Jason Tatum plus that great number 1 pick. I think it's the Lakers pick. Just start that. Who's going to beat that? The Warriors aren't beating that. It's going to be tough. If they do it, it's going to be in a year or 2, and it's going to involve Klay Thompson or Draymond Green. That's clearly what it's going to be, or both. I wrote that at the time. It's a tough thing to think emotionally. It's a tough thing to think about historically. But if you want to talk about the salaries and you want to talk about how this all fits roster-wise, that's how the Warriors would do it. I don't know how realistic it is. I know they want to be on that list, though, when New Orleans has finally taken trade offers for Anthony Davis. I just don't know that it's looking like a very tough proposition for them, though.
That's why it's not really possible, not right now, because the reason you get Anthony Davis is to, keep the party going when it's coming to an end, right? It's like, Draymond's exhausted what you're going to get from him. Klay, it's kind of duplicative with Durant, and we need to change things up. They're not there yet.
No.
Right? They haven't lost the championship again yet, right? So if these two go and win and they go 16-1, it's like, all right, are you really going to trade Draymond right now? Like, can you do that? Can you do that before? Like, he doesn't come through in the playoffs? Like, it's just, I don't know how feasible it will be for them to do that deal right now. In 2 years, when the money starts coming up off the table, and right now you could work some salary cap stuff, then it makes sense. Then you've seen how it plays out. They're not even 30 yet.
Yep.
Right? And then not to mention, Anthony Davis does have an injury history.
Yep.
So can you imagine them making that move right now, giving up Draymond and Klay? That would be wow. And then Anthony Davis misses the playoffs because of an injury.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how you tear down a dynasty, doing stuff like that, right? So I think you first kind of need to see first this group needs to play out. They've been 1 year together. They need to do some things first. But I almost think before you even go down that route, you kind of have to see some decline in the playoffs, not regular season. If they don't produce in the playoffs and they barely hang on to win a championship, and now you could see, I don't know, which is what happened when they got Durant. They actually lost, but even if they had won, you could see, Oklahoma City's coming,
Yep.
Cleveland's coming. If they go 16-1 again in the postseason, it's like, all right, we want to go 16-0, so we're going to get Anthony Davis. I also think it does have something to do with Chase and the tie-in to Chase. Do we go in with these 4, or do we start afresh with a new kind of trio for Chase? I do think that's part of it. How do we go into Chase? I just don't think right now, it just doesn't seem feasible to even try to get Anthony Davis, let alone pull it off.
The only thing I'll add while we go to the next question is the only issue right now is in 2 years it's probably more likely does New Orleans even going to want Draymond and Klay, because they're going to be in their 30s.
Correct.
But that's what, if you're thinking, man, they might actually do it soon, that's the only reason you would think is this is when they might have
the value
the
is
values.
the highest. Yep.
But New Orleans might not want that package anyway. I would think the Boston package is simply going to be more. Next question.
All right. Evan Giddings via email asks, do you think this is finally the year Klay Thompson gets the official recognition he deserves as an all-NBA defender? Who else could you see topping him at the guard position?
Ooh, the all-important, all-NBA question. This is almost like the all-star question, but I think so much of this stuff is about narrative, and not in a bad way, TK.
Yeah.
Good narrative.
Good narrative.
Good narrative. When people are talking about you as something, it helps your case, right? Draymond Green, the whole conversation all year was Defensive Player of the Year after he didn't get it twice. So now we're all watching. And he ended up doing well and won the award. And remember, who was it? And Tony Allen running around going to first team all defense, right? Mm-hmm. Basically doing a campaign during the season. So now Klay's got people talking about him. Kyrie saying he should be on one of them, on the teams, and it's BS that he hasn't been on there. Like, this is all pointing towards Klay getting in. I think this is the year, not because he finally deserves it, but because now it's finally a thing. And now if you leave him off, it's another thing, and it's a storyline, and that's going to get him in because it's all about narrative. I know you hate that word, TK, but narrative.
I don't mind it in that way. I hate it when it's just only used as an attack, and it's only used as a negative. So I don't love the word ever, but I don't mind it this way. And you know what? Who? I'm just trying to think who's gotten it before. Chris Paul a couple times ahead of him. Who else has gotten it ahead of him? Tony Allen.
Tony Allen.
Yeah, I don't know that that list is that long anymore of guys who you can just write down and say this guy's going to be. I guess Jimmy Butler. Maybe Butler would be somewhat ahead of him, but yeah, I think it's Klay's time. I think he'll get it. You kind of get on that waiting list for a little while. You get that second team, and then you kind of move into first team once or twice. I think he'll get that. Everyone sees what he does. I'm not big on this whole recognition thing because you play games and then you see who the champion is, and that whole team gets recognized. But I know fans obsess over this stuff. They care who's first team, second team, who's and I know players care too. So I can discuss it. I don't think it's that big a deal, and I think everyone understands how valuable Klay Thompson is to the Warriors as a two-way player.
I think last year was didn't Danny Green make it last year?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, he might have. Yeah, he's a good defensive player. He's a good defensive player, though. He is.
No, he is. Yeah, no question. He's good. Jimmy Butler. You've got Paul George. I think Kawhi not playing this year pretty much.
Robertson
also opens up a spot.
Robertson, I don't know that he's gotten awards, but him being out is interesting. There's, it's always a mix. I think Isaiah Thomas could be way up there in the voting, I think. So
number one, I think he's like they can't put him on the list because he would win every time, so he just doesn't make it.
He's going to get LeBron.
He's number one.
He's going to get LeBron's vote, I'm sure. Way.
He's totally winning your. He's totally tops on your rankings, right?
He won it last year. He's last year's no defense player of the year. I just love how.
I mean, this year now he's going to cost him a champion.
I just love how I sometimes get ripped for the guys I make no defense player of the year, and then 2 years later, everyone goes, "Oh, everybody knows this guy's terrible. Everybody knows this guy is no." I said, "Yeah, not when I wrote it though. When I wrote it, people were mad at me for saying it, but less and less." Okay, one more question.
Last question is from @James Rumsfeld on Twitter, who asks, I know Draymond Green has mentioned a lot that he hasn't been as good defensively this year, and he hasn't been. Do you think that this is a trend?
Oh.
I actually think he's hurt. And not like in the sense of there's this injury and he needs to sit out. But I think, he's got a few issues that is preventing him from making plays we've seen him make. Like, there are so many times this year where I'm thinking Draymond's going to block the shot and he doesn't get there. And I know he's got the tendonitis in his knees. If you see Draymond after the game, he's got ice on both knees. He's got the shoulder thing, which probably directly affects his reach. He's not getting to spots and to shots that he normally gets to. And I think he's got to kind of really buckle down and focus when he wants to say, all right, nobody's scoring. He's got to do it, but it's not just coming to him naturally. And I think it's something physical. I don't think he's his game isn't based on leaping and all that. It's much more IQ and being in the right place and reading. But he's reading, and he's just not getting there. You know, it's just weird. Something off about him physically, I think, because it's not anything. It's not like, oh, he can't jump that high anymore. He was never jumping that high, but it's just so many times I'm like, ooh, Draymond's blocking that, and the guy makes a shot, or he doesn't rotate, and he's like, all right, go ahead, you can have that one. I think he's physically not feeling himself yet.
Yeah, and the other thing you can tell is in that Boston game, he was everywhere. So
everywhere.
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he can do it. He can do it, but it's not every game, which is where the old Marcus line, I can see them giving Draymond a couple weeks. Well, he might not take a couple weeks, but a week off. Just find a way to get him.
That's what it did for Steph.
Yeah, exactly. And he should see that now. Draymond fights it, and so does Steph. They all fight it, but that's a guy that is getting nicked up. That's a guy that could use just a sustained period of time. You're not playing. Take some practices off. Just clear your head. Get ready for the playoffs. I would not be shocked. We see end of February, beginning of March. Maybe Draymond, missing 3 to 5 games just to get it all cleared up. It doesn't guarantee that he's going to be great for the playoffs. He could tweak his knee in the first game of the playoffs. Who knows? But I just think they see what it's done for Stephen specifically. These guys have all played these incredibly long seasons. They played, Draymond played in the Olympics. Just give him an extra little spring rest to get him into, they start up in April and May, and then there you go. He's just fine. Maybe even give him a game off in the playoffs. They've done that before. And then you're ready for the Houston Rockets in the Western Conference Finals in late May. Then you're ready for the Celtics or Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. I can see that with Draymond for sure. Steph's gotten his time. Durant's gotten his time here and there. I think Draymond is somebody who could really use 3 to 5 games off.
And speaking of Clay, does Clay not need this time?
Yeah, he might. He does a lot less than the other guys. That's for sure. A lot less than the other guys.
It feels like it, right? It feels like nobody's like, man, Clay needs the rest.
No. They have given him a game or two off here and there, though. And I can see 1 or 2. But he's a guy who loves playing. I mean, you tell Clay you're only playing 68 games this season, he will fight you. He will not like that. He likes playing. He just wants to go out and go play. He just runs around. But you can still give him a game or 2. And I think they will.
All right. Good job picking the questions. You made yourself useful.
Thank you.
Ben, producer.
Keeps his job for at least another week.
Not bad. At least. Maybe. Let's see if Ben Cruz is around for the next Word Plus Minus next week.
A reason to tune in.
Have a good one. We're out.
See you.